The shadow world is the most dangerous catastrophe humanity has ever faced. When it appears, the earth and sky are covered by a black mist that continuously drains the life from living beings. To save humanity, the only way is to conquer the shadow world before it spreads to the entire human world. The perpetrator of the shadow disaster is a giant dragon named Boromir. Many warriors have fallen when entering the shadows to challenge this dragon on the battlefield. Currently, only the main character, Darius, along with his 5 teammates, remain. They are all determined to destroy Boromir to end the hellish world he has created. As Boromir prepared to attack, Raphael raised his shield to defend. However, the dragon's attack was successfully thwarted by Darius. Boromir did not give up and continued to gather energy to launch a stronger attack. Yet, the magical power in Darius' hands once again managed to seal his magic. Darius shouted that he had analyzed Boromir's magic configuration so the dragon could no longer use magic. The entire team then ran towards the dragon with Raphael in the front line, holding off its attack. The other team members took turns attacking Boromir, leaving the dragon to just stand and take the blows. The mage behind them channeled all his magical power to enhance the strength of the swordsman. Azes then launched such a powerful sword strike that the earth and sky trembled. After receiving this attack, the dragon finally collapsed. The sky cleared up again, and Darius thought that this hell was finally over. With Boromir's death, it wouldn't be long before the entire team returned to the real world. They sat together, reminiscing about what they had just experienced. Initially, 1 million people came here to challenge Boromir, but in the end, only the 6-member team survived. Darius' companions, who had previously fought alongside him, had fallen on the battlefield, leaving him very sad. In this battle, Raphael acknowledged that Darius had made the greatest contribution. The other team members also admitted that without Darius, they wouldn't know when they could have destroyed the dragon. A mage named Joe asked why Darius' magic was so strong, yet he was not famous. Darius replied that he was just an ordinary person, so no one paid attention to him. After chatting, the entire team began to share their plans when they returned to the real world. However, the somewhat aloof swordsman Azes didn't want to share anything with them. Meanwhile, Doris remembered his good friend, Romantica, who had fallen in a previous battle. Darius' mind was still very sad, so he said he had no plans yet. Suddenly, Boromir moved, causing everyone to panic and not believe their eyes. They had seen the dragon fall and die before, but now the magical power had returned to its body. Joe said that he had read an ancient document that mentioned a dragon's heart, besides its blood, also held a massive amount of magical power. When the dragon dies, its blood will disappear, but the magical power remains and now it will be released, causing the dragon's body to explode. Joe suggested that perhaps this was the first time in human history that a dragon had been successfully killed, so no one could predict this would happen. At this moment, the accumulated magical power was so great that Joe felt he couldn't contain it. Darius tried to use reversal magic to seal the explosion but failed because this was pure magical power that, once released, could not be stopped. Joe reminded everyone to prepare themselves, and the entire team could only pray while holding on desperately. However, Darius could not accept such a sad ending, so he tried his best to save his comrades. Miraculously, Darius managed to turn back time and return to the past. When he opened his eyes, Darius found himself standing in a very unfamiliar place, and when he looked in the mirror, he saw that he had become much younger. He didn't understand where he was or what was happening. Suddenly, Darius heard a lot of applause nearby. On stage, a professor named Briss Jess was preparing to speak at the entrance ceremony at Heaven Academy, and the students were watching Briss Jess. When someone is too beautiful, it is inevitable to be impressed. Darius felt that this scene was very familiar to him, as if every word from the professor was clearly remembered. Nothing was missed. He said that all students must take the entrance exam, and only those selected for the competition content would complete the shadow world. Seeing the confused students, Bridget explained that the shadow world he mentioned was not reality. It was just something created to serve the exam, so the seniors here would support the new students. Darius couldn't believe this was happening to him. This was the opening moment of the academic year at Heaven Academy, the same year when the battle with the dragon god Boromir took place the previous year. And for the next 5 years, Darius and his comrades continued to fight Boromir in the shadow world. As a result, his entire team sacrificed themselves, and no one survived. Now, back in the past, Darius felt deeply that the struggles he experienced no longer had any meaning. He sat pensively in front of the hall door, knowing this was not a dream because all the scenes of the academy were still etched in his memory. At that moment, a girl named Dorich came to Darius. After searching diligently, Darius remembered that she was a second-year student and was the one who would help him. Besides, she was a genius magician with the fire attribute and the strongest in the academy. Seeing Darius worried about the shadow world, she comforted him, saying there was no need to worry because the exam's purpose was only to test whether he could fight or not. Then, Dorich was surprised to learn that Doris was just a commoner who could only study in the beta class. According to Doris, this academy had heavy discrimination. Nobles would study in the alpha class, while commoners were only allowed to study in the beta class. No matter how talented they were, they would never be taught properly. Therefore, many magical talents were buried in this academy. Dorich used her card to bring Doris into the hall. Perhaps because Doris was too familiar with the scene here, he showed no reaction. Seeing Doris not surprised, Dorich wondered, and Doris only joked that he had seen such a building before. As they left the hall, they met a noble named Iohi. Doris remembered that Iohi was a magician with the water attribute, and it seemed Dorich had issues with. Dorich also admitted to Doris that she hated Iohi, so every time they met, they always mocked each other. When Iohi realized that Doris was just a commoner, she laughed loudly because she thought Dorich only deserved to support commoners like Doris. Therefore, she no longer considered Dorich a worthy opponent. To Doris, she suggested not taking the exam because if he only entered the beta class, it would be useless. Hearing her words, Dorich was very angry but couldn't do anything. Just then, the academy's loudspeaker announced that the entrance exam would start soon, so Dorich reminded Doris that he must pass and was not allowed to fail this exam. Doris's experiences all this time proved to him that this was truly the world of the past, so who knows, he might meet the most important person to him. Looking around, Doris didn't see her anywhere, but just then, Romantica appeared behind him, making him very happy because in the future battle, Romantica died in his arms, so now, back in the past, Doris was determined to fix the world. If he could see that Romantica was fine, Desire couldn't hide his joy. He wondered if the two had ever met before, so Desire rushed to the bulletin board and told her that they would be taking the exam together. Seeing that, Romantica hoped that the two would fight together, and if Desire did, he would strive to change the past because losing Romantica made him so desperate. Dorich informed Desire that she would be in Team D, and the exam's content was to complete an ancient shadow world. At the same time, Desire was reminded not to worry because this was just a shadow created for the exam. Inside it, there was a security system, so whenever someone died, they would immediately be expelled. He came and told Desire that participants were allowed to attack each other, so he would find any way to ensure Desire did not pass this exam. Then he introduced the person in charge, a female sword fighter named Azes, to Desire. He understood Azes' strength more than anyone. She was a swordswoman with ice attributes and many powerful spells. Moreover, she also mastered supreme martial arts and was one of Desire's most reliable friends. Seeing Desire continually paying attention to Azes, even Dorich was speechless, especially when Dorich was also attacked by Iohi, making her even more annoyed. Although the swordswoman was very strong, Dorich did not let Desire give up, and when the sudden announcement that the exam started arrived, Desire left her to focus. At this moment, all the participants had gathered at the gate with very excited faces, and then they all entered the shadow world, which was a vast open field. According to the system's notification, only 3 students would pass, and everyone was allowed to use magic to hinder their opponents. In the case of taking too much damage resulting in death, they would be disqualified from the exam. After the rules were explained, the system reminded the participants to get ready, and when the command to start was given, Azes immediately launched forward at high speed, while Desire and Romantica were somewhat delayed. However, Desire was also distracted by some cute creatures, so he did not focus on the exam. Romantica realized that Desire always liked pretty things like that, making her think that Desire was trying to tease her, not compete anymore. When Desire continued to smile kindly, Romantica scolded him to stop. At the right moment, Desire realized an attack was approaching, so he pushed Romantica aside to avoid a fire magic attack from an enemy. Meanwhile, another opponent threatened to blow them both away. When they saw the opponent using fire magic, Romantica countered with wind magic. It seemed like the two magics cancelled each other out, but suddenly Romantica launched another wind attack that immediately eliminated the opponent. On Azes' side, she also received information that there were only 5 participants left on the map, and Romantica quickly thanked Desire for helping her earlier. However, Desire's continuous smiling attitude made her annoyed, feeling that they had fallen far behind the top 3. Romantica wanted to show her strength to Desire with very powerful wind magic, and at this time the Academy Council was monitoring the participants through screens, realizing that this year's participants were very talented. They considered Desire a poor person for having to be in the same group as Azes, except for Professor Bryjet, who was looking forward to his performance. Currently, AES was leading the race, and her competitor, Azes, thought that at this speed she would also finish after her. However, at that moment, Romantica's wind appeared, trapping her in place without being able to move. Azes used her sword to cut through the wind, blocking her path, while a young man behind her tried to catch up. However, Romantica's wind brought a tree branch flying straight to the young man's face, and after Romantica's magical attack, the 2 young men were disqualified, leaving only 3 people on the map. With such several participants, Romantica did not need to fight anymore and immediately passed the exam. But because of Desire's unpleasant attitude, Romantica decided to eliminate him from this exam, feeling that the reason was a bit excessive. Romantica did not want to let Desire go just like that. She still showed her skills before attacking Desire, giving him a chance to surrender. However, Desire only smiled and refused her request. This made Romantica angry, and she displayed many of her magic circles and then attacked Desire simultaneously. She thought Desire would be destroyed after this attack, so she felt happy, but Desire remained calm, surprising her. In fact, Desire showed the strengths and weaknesses of her previous techniques, making Romantica even more frustrated. Finally, Romantica used a new magic to attack Desire again, but this time Desire used reverse magic to deflect the attack and destroy her magic. Romantica realized that reverse magic had to be at a much higher level than the opponent's to be used, while Desire always managed to destroy Romantica's attacks with the lowest level. Now, Romantica realized that Desire was stronger than her. Desire then decided to end the fight with Romantica to look for aces. After hearing that, Romantica used all her strength, summoning many magic circles to attack Desire, but Desire continued to calculate perfectly, stopping all of Romantica's attacks. Desire thought he did it to help Romantica become stronger, otherwise they would face destruction in the future. Then Desire destroyed all of Romantica's magic circles, surprising her greatly when she saw Desire using magic to reduce friction on his body, saying that from the beginning, he didn't see Romantica as an enemy because this was just a race to the finish line, not a magic battle. Furthermore, if they took damage here, they would only be disqualified, not killed. Desire then released a fireball spell behind him, making Romantica think he was crazy, but then the fireball hit Desire forward, pushing Romantica away and making her admire Desire's courage. At the same time, Aces was heading towards the finish line and Desire was also gliding there. When Romantica realized that Desire had defeated her, she gained a different view of Desire's strength, so at that moment, Aces decided to fight Desire with all her might. She unleashed many ice magic circles, but Desire used reverse direction magic and sealed half of them before the magic could fully activate, allowing Aces to attack Desire and causing the magic to deviate from its path. After choosing his attack, Desire avoided fatal injuries, even taking control of Aces' ice magic and reversing the attack. There was no other choice for Aces but to combine all her magic circles and unleash the final magic to end Desire. However, Desire changed its trajectory, attacking from behind, using the explosion as a boost towards Aces. Although Desire was the winner of Team D, he was not satisfied because his main task was to make Aces and Romantica stronger so they could overcome future tragedies. The winner of Group F was a young man named Donut. When he saw Team Desire, he was planning something evil. After the exam results came out, the Academy Council would classify students into the Alpha class, which was only for nobles and high-level magic users. They wouldn't include commoners in this class, but the headmaster wanted to suggest a special student to enter the Alpha class. Professor Briss suggested Desire's name as a deserving candidate for the Alpha class. When the students saw the class list posted at the academy, those who made it into the Alpha class were very happy. Romantica couldn't believe she only made it into the Beta class. She felt that class was only for commoners with poor facilities. The class had existed for a long time and still provided ordinary lessons to students. The class also had an arrogant and disdainful mentor who considered them lowly. Romantica was very upset about having to study in the Beta class. For her, it was very annoying. Moreover, she had to sit next to someone she didn't like, namely Desire. She also wondered why she, who should have ranked first, had to be in the Beta class. The young man just smiled, making Romantica even more annoyed. She knew very well that, no matter how clever someone was, they could only study in the Beta class. Even Professor Briss, who had known Desire since he lived in the orphanage, couldn't help him because the noble teachers were very opposed. Upon hearing Romantica's suggestion to join Desire, she realized that in this school, there was a divide between commoners and nobles. However, Desire didn't mind because the Beta class still had many talented students who could prevent a dark future. Romantica could only sleep during break time because she didn't want to talk to anyone. At that moment, a young man named Donut came to introduce himself. He mentioned that he studied in the Alpha class and had just joined the #1 team in school called Blue Moon. He came to recruit someone with extraordinary talent like Romantica to join his team. Upon hearing Donut's offer, Romantica felt somewhat hopeful. However, Donut laid down a condition that if Romantica joined his team, she had to date him. This surprised Romantica because she had just met Donut, yet Donut claimed to have fallen in love with her at first sight. Additionally, as a noblewoman, Romantica felt she couldn't accept the fact that she had to study in the dirty Beta class. She felt unable to accept this sudden demand. Romantica asked for time to think it over. Donut accepted her request and gave her a memento from his homeland. He said that the object was only given to those who have feelings, and he had given it to Romantica. After Donut left, Desire came to congratulate Romantica. Desire also found Romantica intriguing due to her funny reactions. Desire also had a similar request to Donut's, inviting Romantica to join his team. Of course, Romantica refused, as Donut had promised to bring Romantica into the #1 team in his school. Desire felt that Romantica's decision was a very dangerous mistake. He left a letter and asked Romantica to read it in a secluded place. After Desire left, Romantica read the letter and was surprised because Desire knew so many secrets about her. Meanwhile, Desire searched for an old friend named Pram. According to Desire, Pram was the fastest knight in school and would surely become even stronger in the future. At the same time, Romantica went to find Desire, but she was captivated by a cute creature named Pram. She even wanted to take Pram home as a pet. Meanwhile, Pram prepared for practice with a large sword against a nobleman in the Alpha class. When the fight began, Pram kept attacking and making his opponent retreat. However, Pram's strength began to weaken and he quickly ran out of breath. Desire didn't understand why Pram chose such a large sword as it required a lot of energy. Now, the nobleman attacked Pram aggressively, putting him under pressure. When Pram lifted the sword, his speed wasn't fast enough so he managed to dodge, but Pram's sword had been thrown and made him lose. Although the nobleman won the fight, he still felt bitter because Pram felt hurt due to Desire's earlier attack. So, he approached Desire and began hitting his face repeatedly. Angry at seeing this, Desire ran closer to stop him and insulted him as a coward who was only jealous of others' talents. Hearing this, he became even more frustrated and grabbed a wooden sword to attack Desire, but Desire managed to hold it with one hand, breaking the sword in two. Seeing Desire's sharp gaze, he didn't dare to fight back and eventually left in despair. After that, Pram bandaged Desire's wounds and felt very regretful because Desire had now become an alpha enemy. However, Desire comforted him that it was Pram's own mistake, so there was no need to worry. At that moment, Pram introduced himself to Desire and Romantica, then thanked Desire and promised to always help him if Desire needed assistance. Meanwhile, Romantica was so busy watching Pram that she forgot she also had something she wanted to convey to Desire. When they had time together, Desire said that he knew Romantica's origins as just a commoner, but her parents had spent a lot of money to buy a noble title for Romantica. Perhaps the teachers at the academy knew about this, so Romantica was demoted to the beta class. Desire suggested that Romantica should not accept Pram's offer because he only regarded commoners as trash, and Desire's goal was to invite Romantica to his team. Initially, Romantica refused because she thought Desire was just using this to force her to join, but when she heard that Pram and Desire would form a team together, she regretted refusing before. Furthermore, Romantica felt Desire was a suspicious figure. He not only knew a lot about her family but also possessed strong power. When there was an entrance exam, Romantica finally accepted Desire's offer to join his team, and she promised to reveal Desire's past secrets. Pram was given a precious sword by his mother. He said that as long as the sword shone, it meant his father still loved them both. However, the sword then broke in Pram's hand, making him very anxious. This nightmare made him scream and wake up, and that morning, Desire came with two of his friends to meet Professor Bridget to form a team. When they met, Desire said they came to form a team. The professor happily invited them to have cake and tea. When Pram still felt unsure, Desire encouraged him, and upon seeing Pram eat the cake, Romantica couldn't help but smile at Pram's innocence. The professor then asked Desire why he wanted to form a team, and Desire replied that he wanted to win the competition to move up to the Alpha class. Although Desire knew it was difficult, he still tried hard. When Pram asked, the professor explained that the competition would be held after the selection to determine the students' rankings. The form of the competition was a battle between teams from the Alpha and Beta classes, and the winning team would move up in rank. However, what the professor said was just the initial stage to assess the students' abilities, and the winning team in the initial stage would participate in the official competition held in the Illusion world. There, the top 9 ranked individuals would earn a special title called Single Ranker. With this title, they would move from the Beta class to the Alpha class. However, according to the professor, no Beta class student had yet been able to rank up, and even Romantica thought that the abilities of the Alpha and Beta classes were too different from the start, making this competition very difficult. However, Desire remained very confident and encouraged everyone to do their best because if 3 people won the battle, the teachers at this academy would no longer underestimate the Beta class. After hearing that, the professor felt somewhat disappointed because she was also a teacher at the academy. But she believed that if Desire's team were to win the battle, the situation would change. This bad situation would change, and the condition for Desire to form a team was the agreement of all members, so the professor asked once again whether Romantica and Pram wanted to join Desire's team or not. Then, Desire took his 2 companions to visit the training facilities of the Alpha class, which were always well maintained. Even in the best condition, Desire's team could only use one dark room that had not been cleaned for a long time and was empty here, which made Romantica also silent. Even a family of mice had made a nest in the room, making 2 members of Desire's team scared. Pram immediately fainted while Romantica had to cling to Desire because she was very afraid of the mice. Although Romantica didn't want to be here at all, Desire said that this room was prepared by the professor, so whatever happened, everyone had to clean the room for training. Shortly after Pram woke up, he saw that the room was already clean, so Pram felt a little guilty towards Desire because he was injured but still had to clean the room. Meanwhile, after fighting with the mice, Romantica wanted to return to her room to take a shower, but Desire suggested that she immediately practice because her goal was to move up to the Alpha class. While in the professor's room, Romantica still hesitated with the question of whether to join Desire's team or not, and when teased by Desire, she was very annoyed but finally agreed. Even Pram also wanted to join Desire, so he immediately agreed to join the team. So the professor approved Desire to form his team. Now that she had become a team member, Romantica had to listen to the captain's orders, and Desire took her to the room to practice with Pram. First, Desire wanted Romantica to improve her magic accuracy, and he was very confident in showing her many magic circles to the place designated by Desire. Although Romantica successfully hit her target accurately, Desire wanted her to shoot right into the center of the target, and after hearing that, Romantica was very surprised because no one could do it. However, Desire knew that in the future, Romantica would become a very skilled witch, all of her magic very accurate and never missing the target. So, to boost her spirits, Desire provoked her by saying that it would be better to go clean the house than to listen. After hearing this, Romantica was very angry and couldn't accept it, so she had to follow Desire's next exercise. This time, Romantica's task was to use magical powers to put a ball into the circle in front of Desire. Knowing Romantica's proficiency in wind magic, this exercise was aimed at enhancing her skills. With Desire's guidance, Romantica displayed a gentle wind to slowly lift the ball, although it only flew high and fell right into place. Desire was very satisfied because he understood the essence, and Romantica was very happy because this was the first time she received praise from Desire other than from training. Besides Romantica's training, Desire also wanted to improve Pram's sword skills, but Desire didn't know what to teach because he already was an outstanding swordsman. According to Desire's memory from the future, Pram had mastered the battlefield with a very thin and light sword called the rapier and sharp sword cuts. Desire couldn't forget it, so he wondered why Pram chose a big sword to practice with someone. In the Alpha class, Pram was supposed to choose a light weapon to demonstrate agility. At first, Pram hesitated to reveal the reason, but Desire said it was related to team strength, so Pram invited Desire out to go to his room, ignoring Romantica who was training. When they opened the door to his room, Pram immediately took the rapier sword and said that it was a legacy from his father, as Pram said. You've never met your father because he's a nobleman while your mother is just a commoner. Thanks to the sword left by your father, you're determined to become a knight, hoping that one day when you meet him, you'll use this sword well. However, your mother warned you never to meet your father because he lives in a very different world from both of you. Your mother also fell seriously ill and passed away afterward, but she never told you your father's name. Desire understood that having a child with a commoner would damage the reputation of a noble family, so if Pram went to meet his father, he might not be there anymore. Pram continued by saying that his goal in coming to this academy was to investigate the origin of his father, and he had also taken this rapier sword for further examination. However, the results showed that it was just an ordinary sword unworthy of a nobleman. Pram felt his father was very bad, so he got angry and threw the sword away, deciding that he would never touch it again.